Good day and welcome to another edition of Insight. Today we come to you live from the Pegasus Hotel here in Kingston. And we are at the scene of the Jamaica Stock Exchange 15th annual conference. And we have no other person but the big boss, the managing director. And you will know her the moment you see her on screen, Marlene Street Forrest. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I did a little survey.
Yes.
And said, I'm going to do a program this morning with Marlene Street Forrest on the stock exchange. What should I ask her?
Right.
And they said, can you ask her how the stock exchange works? Can I get involved with it? How do I go about it? How easy it is? So your chance today is to take us to school.
Okay.
What is the stock exchange? What the stock market? We hear about bend down market and coronation market. Oh, there are similarities and differences there. Your show, teach us.
Yes. So the stock market is really a place where we mobilize capital from all the various people who have capital and monies. Let us put it. Yes. To offer to companies that want this money to grow their business. So, and the persons who are going to give this money are called the investors. The stock market, so these companies, when they offer to get your money, they will offer you a share in the business, which is why you hear about share or stock. It's really the same thing.
So the person on the road can be an investor.
Oh, yes.
Anybody can be.
Anybody.
It's not for people who just wear tie and jacket and things.
Absolutely not, Michael. And that is what we are trying to demystify. We are trying to say to people, look, we have companies in Jamaica. These companies, they know about, they eat, they buy their products, they go to get service from them, etc. So if you can buy these products, then you can be shareholders. Remember, I just talked to you about share.
Yes.
Of the company. It is a pie. So consider the company a pie. And if the company now has this pie and say, look, we want $100,000 in order to grow that business.
Okay.
And so that's the pie. Yeah? And that's a share of what you're going to get. You're going to get part of that pie. And so you now take part in that. The company will offer it. And the company usually offers it by way of what is called a prospectus. A prospectus is simply this book that tells you about the company, tells you who will manage the company, tells you about who are the directors on a board that will manage the company. And then you look at it and say, okay, this is a company I buy the products from, and they want some money. And
they have good leadership.
And they have good leadership.
Yes. And that matters, doesn't it?
Most certainly.
Yes.
Yes, governance matters. And they have good leadership, and they have the people know their stuff, call it. And so I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to be a part of this company. Now remember, you're not lending the company any money. You are now going to be a part owner. So if the company has 100 shares, call it that again, the pie, and you take a part of it, you're a part owner of that pie.
Yes.
Yes. So you own it. So when the company will have to tell you what is going on, and the company does that through investor briefings.
Yes.
The company does that through what is called an annual general meeting. And so you know what is going on. Now, how does a stock exchange fit into this? The stock exchange fits into this because the company once the company offers these shares to the market and decide to list it, meaning that they say that they are now accepting to be regulated by the stock exchange, and that these shares, and I'll soon talk about trading, these shares are there. Now, what it does is that everything that the company wants to say to its shareholder of that pie again, it says it gives that stock exchange information. And the stock exchange.
You are the regulators.
Yes, we are the regulators.
The referees.
Yes.
The referee in the game.
In the game, ensure that we are the gatekeeper.
Yes.
To ensure that game is properly run and properly played. Now we are regulated by also the Financial Services Commission.
Okay.
which is a government
Yes.
body. Now, what happens is, Michael, you have, let us assume that you have a part of that pie,
Yeah.
which is a share. But you want at some point in time to pass that share on to someone else because you want to get back the money that you had invested.
In other words, I want to sell.
You want to sell in the market.
Yes.
The stock exchange provides this avenue for you to go to a broker.
Oh, I
Yes.
have a broker.
Yes.
I can't walk to the stock exchange and say,
No.
see this, give me my money.
No.
No, there's a broker.
There's
through
a
which you go.
broker.
Okay.
And because we want an order. So you go to the broker and you say to the broker, I want to sell. The broker, we have what is called a trading platform.
Okay.
So the broker will put that order in, your order to sell, and then me now, Marlene, I want to buy.
Yes.
I go to a broker and I say I want to buy that share that you had, and
Yes.
they put that order in again.
So that platform knows who want to sell and who want to purchase. So you match.
Exactly, right. In regard to certain things, so we look at the price, the time you put it in, and so the best execution will be that trade will be matched.
Yes.
Yes.
How easy it is
Yes.
for John Stroke on the road to say, I want to be a part of this. Now that we're demystifying it,
Right.
it doesn't just, it's not the big neck people them alone and jacket and tie people.
That's right.
But a man on the street,
Right.
if you have a little money,
Right.
you can say, Mom, is there a limit to the money, for example, the higher or the lowest?
There is no limit. The fact is, we have even just changed our regulations such that a person can own not 100, but one
One share?
However, let us just break it down, because if you have a share of $1, it doesn't really make any sense, right? So you would go to your, and by the time the broker charges the fee for that transaction,
You'll be owning the broker.
That's right. So, but it just shows how easy it is, and because some of our shares are $2.50. You remember
Yes.
Wicon came out at 50 cents, and so it means that everybody, every single Jamaican here can own a part of a company. Some the prices are a little bit more expensive.
Yes.
Because again, we talk about the pie. Some pies are cheaper.
Supply and demand,
and
I would
yes,
imagine.
and
the same.
exactly.
Yes. But they want the big one, then so the money look turnover nice.
Yes, exactly. But you see, you have some companies, their shares are 50 cents. Some the shares are 100 and some. So you look at it when you are just starting.
Yes.
And say, what can I afford?
Yes.
Because all of these companies have merits. So you look at it and say, okay, for now, start small.
Yes.
I'm encouraging people.
Yes, yes.
Start small, test the water.
Help me with
Easy.
often hear that you declare it. What is it that you get? You put in, say, for example, I have $100. We work
Yes.
with some numbers that
Yes.
my maths brains can
Yes,
work with.
right.
$100.
Yes.
I put it in. Is there any limit on the time that it stays there? Is there a guarantee on the interest dividend, I would imagine?
Dividend,
that's
yes.
there. How does that play?
Okay. So there is no time factor. Investing in shares, though, is usually considered for a long term. You know, a long the horizon.
Yes, you have short term, you have
Yes.
medium
And
term,
you have
and long
long
term.
term.
Long term is over.
You say 5 years,
years.
or so.
Okay.
But that isn't to say that you don't have persons who will invest for a short-term
Short-term,
gain
yes, yes.
or medium-term gain.
Yes.
But because stock outperforms in the long term, any other investment, we say you should have a long view.
Yes.
However, you can, let me get into why would I want to invest in a company? Why would I want to have shares in a company?
Yes.
There must be a reason.
Yes.
I don't just put my
Yes.
$100 there for nothing. And the reason is that you expect to get some gain.
Yes.
Now, when you buy a stock, you are expecting that the company will perform well and that the price of that stock will go up. And it usually goes up based on the company's performance.
That's right.
And so when that stock goes up, we call it a gain in the stock. We call it appreciation. So again, Michael, it's a $100, and it's a $1 stock. That stock, when you buy it, it could be $1, and by the time the company performs well, etc., it could be $1.50. It could be $2. It could be $3. It could come down to,
Oh, yes, you play it both ways. The
exactly,
risk.
the risk.
Yes.
But if it moves up and you want to sell, say it moves up to $1.50, that is what we call the gain or the appreciation. You go to your broker again and you say, I want to sell. I see the stock is at $1.50. It is at that point that I want to sell. And that 50 cents is what you'd gain on that dollar initial investment. And you pay no tax on it.
No tax?
I wanted to say that. You pay no tax on it. Isn't that amazing?
Hold on, but that's income though.
But there's no tax on that which is called capital gain.
Capital gain, no capital gain tax.
No capital gain tax.
All right, I'm gaining some information here, and we'll be right back on Insight. Welcome back to Insight. We are at the Jamaica Stock Exchange 15th annual conference here at the Pegasus Hotel in Kingston, and we have the managing director, Marlene Street Forest, and we're getting loads and insight, if you may, loads and loads of information on how to enter this market, how to do it, how to get capital gains without taxation. But I did ask, though, the issue of the capital gains and dividends, the same thing? Is
no.
It, what, you're still different. You don't have to, I can make money.
Two ways.
Two ways.
Yes.
Yes.
So the capital gain is based on how the price of that stock, what you bought it for as against what you sold it for.
Yes.
That is called the capital gain. But the company is making money.
Yes.
The company is doing well. And so the management, the directors have gotten together and say, you know what we want to do is give back a part of that profit to our shareholders.
Yes.
And so the what we call it is a declaration of dividend.
Yes.
So that part that is given back, yes, is called dividend. And so
And that's out of the profit.
that is out of the profit of the company, Michael. You're catching on very, very well.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Some companies declare 15 cents to the dollar.
Yes, it's based on the price, your share, on each share.
Yes.
Yes. And so this money now that you get based on the profit of the company, the performance, now that part is taxed.
Okay.
Yes.
Dividend part is that.
Dividend is taxed. 15% of that comes into you. So if you had 100 shares and they declare $1 on each share, you'll be getting $100.
Yes.
And then what you do, the government will take 15% of that.
Okay.
But you have the rest.
Yes.
Yes, and that is still lower than other taxes.
That's
yeah?
correct. That's
right.
correct.
So you make that money on when you sell, and that's the capital appreciation. You make some more money on when the company declares a dividend.
Okay. Help me know, there's this big thing going, IPO.
Yes.
Is it going to be this IPO? Tell these youngsters around here about what's an IPO?
An IPO is an initial, I for initial, P for public, and O for offering. What it means is that the company is offering to you, the public, some of its shares. So you can buy part of that pie again.
You can become the investor.
You can become the investor. Yes. And then they do that through the document called the prospectus.
Okay.
So the prospectus now tells you all that you need to know about the company, the 5 years in terms of the audited financial, if the company is there that long.
Yes.
It tells you about the managing who manages the company, the board of directors, what they intend to do, Michael, specifically with that money. So that as a shareholder now you can hold them accountable for what they say that they are going to be doing with that money.
Yes. There's one still has come up, and there's this buzz in the air. Trans Jamaica
Yes.
is we know east to west
Yes.
highway,
Yes.
and that's been planted as almost like one of the largest offerings ever to be made in Jamaica.
Yes.
So everybody must now save up them jingles and get ready. What is that? What are you looking forward to that? How much pressure does that put on the stock exchange to get all that ready for the world, if you may?
Well, it's based on what has been told. It will be a big offering, bigger than Wicton before. Remember, Wicton invited 30,000 shareholders. That's what they had after the offer closed, and this is supposed to be bigger. Yes, than that. So yes, they're inviting quite more persons to come and build wealth through taking a part, being a part of that shareholding. The stock exchange is prepared. The stock exchange and its group in terms of allocation, helping as a registrar, we are prepared for that big offer so that persons will know quickly what they got based on what they have invested, how many shares.
Let's use that as an example
Yes.
of what an individual can do,
Right.
because it is not yet. It's upon us. We understand
Yes.
it might be in February,
Yes.
based on the
Yes,
announcement from the
timelines
Prime
and all
Minister.
that, yes.
What somebody who is ready now and want to invest in what should they do? Take us through this thing.
You know, at this point in time, because you know we have been told that the offer will be coming, etc., I would go right away to my broker.
Go to a broker. Look up
Yes.
in the book. You never hear nothing about broker yet.
Yes.
You-
So the broker is a person. We have 13 for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. NCB, investment, capital markets, BNS, Barito, quite a number of them, and they are on our website.
So these are sound like you don't have individual brokers. You don't have people who operate it. They have to be
No,
large.
they're within a company. They're not necessarily. You don't have to have a large broker, but you have to have a broker.
Yes.
That's
And how many you say?
we have 13.
13 brokers.
Yes.
So find a broker.
Yes.
So you have someone you want to invest.
Right.
And what
Go
goes-
to that broker.
Yes.
Tell them that you would like to invest in this upcoming offer. Let them start by opening an account, because the challenge many times is when you hear when the offer really opens on the market, you are scrambling because you have to have an account.
Oh, you have to have an account. So go
Yes.
and start an account.
Go and start an account even as we speak now.
Yes.
Go to your broker, say to your broker, I'm interested in investing in the market. Just start me up. So the broker now would open an account for you, get what is called the JCSD account number, and so that when you are ready now, all you have to do is to say, these are the stocks, or this one that we're talking about now is the stock that I want to invest in. We have, when that is done, because you have facility to actually go online now.
Yes.
Go online and open and put in your details. It will be much easier for you to do so.
Is that what I heard, Mr. Gooden,
Yes, go-
saying that
yes.
you can get it now in the comfort of your home?
That is
and all that kind of, because
that
you
is
can go
correct.
online.
Yes, he was talking about NCB Go IPO.
Yes.
Yes, but you know, if you are not comfortable with that, the broker will do the work for you,
yes.
and so that you can place what we call your order.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the broker is a person who carries
The middleman.
the middleman.
Yes.
And he gets a fee.
Oh yes, he gets a fee.
And is there competitively, are the fees about the same around there? Or
They're around the same. But to look at brokers, see what you are comfortable with. Discuss with the broker the fee as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I couldn't allow this program to go on with you and not touch on the social, Jamaica social
Stock
market,
exchange.
stock exchange.
Right.
I see some monies came for a company. When I heard the name, I thought it was DEFCAN, DEFDAN, but I was told by the guy who runs it, it's DEFCAN.
Can.
Two different words.
Yes.
I mean, 7.5 million from NCB Foundation.
Yes.
What does that do to you? How does that make you feel in terms of what this social market is? And explain what it is again,
Yes,
because
yes.
we're now seeing it coming to
To
fruition.
exactly. So the social stock exchange is really looking on the social aspect of life. We look at what else apart from financial, what else is necessary to ensure that the fabric of society is intact. And if you don't have good social fabric, you're going to down in the financial.
Yes.
So the stock exchange says, look, what we'll do, we know that persons have said, I want to invest social capital. Probably at first we have two phases, donation and then investing in the impact investment company itself. But right now it is donating to a program from a social enterprise. So let us use DEFCAN.
Yes.
DEFCAN to expand the business of the coffee growing.
Coffee, yes.
Right. And it is that deaf community that will be in charge. And so DEFCAN said, this is a project I want. I want to acquire some land. I want to. And they came to the social stock exchange and said, this is my plan. We reviewed the plan. We said, looks like a feasible plan. But the social stock exchange is there to provide the same confidence that the investors have as they would in the
So
financial
there's a due
market.
diligence.
Exactly. There is a due diligence, and not only due diligence at the point of when the money is being given. It is a due diligence right throughout that project.
So in other words, you can't turn right, turn left. You
No.
gotta stay straight and
Yeah,
narrow.
exactly. And also, not only that, but you have a requirement that every quarter you must advise the donors as to what is happening. So you have to present a financial statement, and so you say this is it, and we can track and measure the outcome.
So is it a situation that you type of skill sets or you build on the skill sets of those? Because you're now talking about governance.
Governance.
So but just because people were helping out and growing a little coffee, come up with a business plan, you like it, 7.5 million from NCB Foundation, but the consistency and continuity now,
That is important.
You have asked them to put on another layer.
That is correct. And so what is that saying? That is saying that we have taken this initiative because we feel that that social sector is so important that it has to get involved in governance. So many of the social enterprises might not take that part seriously. But Michael, it's a serious part.
Yes, yes.
And to engender confidence of persons giving that money, and yes, it's social capital, you need to have that layer of governance. And the IDB has also provided, we have just signed an agreement with them to provide training for the social enterprises.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, you know what I foresee though? And tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Looking in my crystal ball, all foundations
Yes.
can come to this.
That is correct. That is, it's join up we're talking about.
Yes.
It's collaboration we're talking about.
You are providing the due diligence.
Yes.
They don't have to worry on that the foundation run aground.
That is correct.
Because foundations can start out with the best intent in the world,
Right.
but
Yes.
miss their way. But I know the Prime Minister, for example,
Yes.
gave a donation of
Oh,
$400,000.
yes.
Where
we're
is that going? To the
we're
general?
It will be going to the four that, because we have 5, plus the Father Along initiative. So we are going to be ensuring that it is used for those 4 plus Father Along's initiative.
Anything on the horizon? Anybody coming through to take on anything?
in terms of taking.
Yes, like doing an NCB foundation thing.
Well, there are hints in the market, and I'm hoping that after this conference, I'm going to take them upon it. But I think that they will. And remember now, Michael, the platform is there for everybody in Jamaica, in the diaspora, everywhere to log on to the social exchange and give their donation depending on which project they want to help.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
And alas, we could continue for 4 more hours, but this is how we say goodbye to Ms. Marlene Street Forrest, because she has to run back into her conference.
Yes.
But we'll be right back on Insight. Welcome back to Insight. We continue the discussion here at the annual meeting. 15 of them. In other words, there's some stability going on here, at least as it relates to annual conferences with the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We just heard from Marlene Street, who is the managing director of here. We now have the chairman. Would that be your boss? I don't know. Well, you know, chairs are. And then we also have a friend from Canada, Mr. Robert Cook. He is the CEO of the Canadian Securities Exchange. So we have gone local. We have a regional brother on the side, and we have another brother from the global side. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Let me hit you right away, Mr. Mayor. I heard your presentation at the opening of the stock exchange, and I thought that we have a good thing going here in Jamaica. You want to spread it out. You spoke to the weakness and strengths of the regional thing, but what is a regional stock exchange? Where are we going with this? Is it a CARICOM deal here?
You know, I'd say no. So, and the only reason I say no is because once you say CARICOM and making like a CARICOM deal, then I think we go back into this political agreement that occurred so many years ago, and the Treaty of Chaguaramas and everything subsequent. And if you read that, the commitment to a regional capital market was made a long time ago. There's no question about the fact that it was seen that the portability of money, capital, and risk was going to be a strength for the region. Well, I'll take it one step outside of that, because I believe that the businesses across the region see it as being more important necessarily than the leaders across the region. I think the businesses across the region are already doing it.
So it's business driven.
It's business driven. Capital goes wherever it is best rewarded, wherever it is that it finds its return is commensurate with the risk it takes on. And businesses go where they can find funding. And it's been the case that a number of our companies throughout the region have had to go to North America to get funding. It has been the case that a number of our fund managers across the region have restricted themselves to only investing in things that are investment grade. And if you look across the region, guess what? Nobody's investment grade. So
what's investment grade? You're not going to get to these things.
Well, our rating agencies, you'd hear about, S&P, you'd hear about Moody's, you'd hear about Fitch, you'd hear about B+, A, and all of these things that, it's better than an A in class. Everybody jump up, the whole nation rises, and people don't understand that these ratings really reflect how the credit agencies, the credit rating agencies view the quality of your credit to sustainability. So it is something to aspire to. It is something that that you certainly want to give a lot of accolades, when it is that, just as in Jamaica's case, you've been improving in the ratings. However, we also have to look across the region and say, for the credits that we understand, the countries that we understand, a region that we know so very well, who among us are investment grade? Well, Jamaica isn't. Barbados isn't. None of the EC is. DR isn't. Haiti isn't. I think the only one still maintaining some level of an investment grade status, meaning at least one rating agency, is Trinidad. Mm-hmm. And of course, they have challenges as well. We'll see how they maintain it. I wish them the best.
Yes.
But having a criteria for investment that restricts your investments outside of the country to being investment grade, it's saying I can do things locally, but once I go international, I have to ignore my region.
Oh,
So that's not necessarily a government guideline, but these are the sorts of guidelines that have been put in place at various fund managers across the region. And this is part of the discussion we have to have. How do we ensure that the people who know your business best are able to support your businesses, so that you don't end up paying this risk premium associated with you being the unknown when you go to an international issuance or into an international financier. So it's, I think it's critical that we start to have the dialogue around what a regional integration in capital markets looks like.
yes.
What are the benefits associated with that? And how can this be the fillip to help to lift the region overall?
Yes, indeed. But I'm going to trouble you with one more question before I bring in Brother Cook.
Go ahead.
And which language should we speak in? Because you blew it open last night. You know, we English-speaking people like to think that you know, you say it's number 2 in the region.
No, I wasn't so generous.
I think it was
so
number
generous.
3.
I said it's number 3.
Number
Yeah.
3. There you go.
Which is, I think, something that shocks everybody.
Yeah.
You know, when we think Caribbean, we know it's English speaking. We know that. We know that there are a few little pockets of people that speak other things.
Yes.
And hopefully they know to speak English as well. Or if not, they don't really fit in. We're wrong. English is the third actively spoken language in the region. And Jamaica is the largest English-speaking country in the region. Our population fits inside of Santo Domingo, which is the capital of Dominican Republic. Right? So just for context, you know, we are at least the largest English-speaking country, which is Trinidad.
Yes.
Their population fits in the second largest city in Dominican Republic, Santiago. Outside of the capitals, there's still millions of people. And that's not including the populations of some of the other Spanish-speaking countries, and certainly not including the population of the French-speaking, which, yes, we'd say that Haiti has been to a large extent excluded from international capital markets or the formal economies of our region, but their population is 12 million people. It significantly dwarfs the
Yes.
English-speaking
Yes.
Caribbean.
Yes.
So for context,
Number 1 and 2.
that's number 1 and 2. So we have Spanish number 1, we have French number 2, and then
And we guys.
yeah. So I'm not saying it to go and downplay the importance of English, but what I'm saying is let's make sure we shine a light on the fact that we are small and we've created a lot of barriers around ourselves, thinking that this insulation gives us strength, where it doesn't. Our integration will give us strength.
Indeed.
And yes, before we started, I said I'm not one for the formalities, and part formalities of the role. And I'll tell you why. I'm a practitioner.
Yes.
You know, I've been involved in every debt transaction that the government has done. I've been involved throughout the region. I've built markets throughout the region, and I'll tell you, I've seen some of the deficiencies across the region, the deficiencies in Jamaica. And in 2008, when we had a global financial crisis, we're there. And what we saw is that the world can very quickly forget you. The Caribbean sees a nice place to visit.
Yes.
And when things are good, it may be a nice place to invest. But when things happen in Europe, in Asia, in the US, in even the more developed or larger markets of Central America and Latin, well, they can quickly forget the Caribbean. It's important that we have the mechanisms in place to work with each other, to provide that stable foundation for each other, as the deficiencies in one country may very easily be satisfied by the excesses in another.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
From the Canadian perspective, how do you see the Jamaican stock market, and do you involve yourself with a regional perspective?
Well, we certainly view the Jamaican stock market as one that's sophisticated, modern, well-functioning, and of late has had spectacular returns, which the rest of the world is probably envious of. We're not really involved in the region. Really appreciate Julian's comments about expanding the concept of the region in people's minds. I think we're very fortunate when it comes to language that English is the most often spoken second language
Fair enough.
in the world. Right? So we often get by even if we don't know another language.
Yes.
Right? But in Canada, we do have a small but special relationship with Jamaica because of the presence of the expats in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, the weather here kind of helps a bit. It kind of encourages Canadians to visit.
Keep their money warm.
Especially this time of year.
Yes.
Right? But at the Canadian Securities Exchange, we operate in quite a different kind of a equity market than here. Because
so?
we're just one of a few competing stock exchanges in Canada.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
We're only 15 years old. It's a stock exchange, right? The Jamaica Stock Exchange is 50 years old. The Toronto Stock Exchange is going on 150. It's over 100. I know that. I used to work there.
Yes.
But we are the growing stock exchange in our country. We came in as to provide competition. And in order to do that, we had to do something different, and the market likes what we've done.
I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back on Insight.
Okay.
Welcome back to Insight. Quite insightful for me this morning, personally, as we take a stock of what's going on in the different markets. And I stopped you in full flight as it relates to your stock exchange, a Canadian Securities Exchange, and you told me that it's one of several exchanges. And how do you operate in a competitive market here? I'm thinking, all right, every country has one,
Right. Right.
But you just broken my template.
Well, there's always been several exchanges in Canada. When I got into the stock exchange business in the early 1980s, there were 5. And then in the late 1990s, the exchanges got together, divided up the territory, and created one for senior equities, one for junior equities, and one for derivatives, options and futures. Right? And subsequent to that, with the proliferation of alternative markets in the United States who were trading securities that are listed on stock exchanges, there was new economics brought into the game with new trading engines that didn't cost tens of millions of dollars to build. You can buy them off the shelf. So that made it the barrier to entry easier, right? Because it lowered the cost, right? And regulations in Canada as and elsewhere said, look, it's okay to have competition.
Competition is
So
good.
we compete on price, but we mostly compete on service.
That's the softer side that's important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your connection therefore to the Jamaica? What would bring you here? What at the end of the day? What are the gains for you? And I certainly could ask the chairman.
Right.
What would be the gain for
Well,
for Mr. Cook from representing the CEO?
Right. Okay. Well, the Jamaica Exchange looks beyond its borders, right? It sees more of the world than just what's here. There are companies that operate in both countries, right? There are investors that want to invest in companies from both countries, right? So both the Jamaica Stock Exchange and the Canadian Securities Exchange, we want to help our issuers. We want to help investors in our markets get access to investments in other countries, okay? One of the ways that we can do that is by promoting the concept of the dual listing to make it easier for investors in each country to buy, sell securities
Yes.
that are primarily listed in another country.
Yes.
Okay? The recent creation of the cannabis sector has really kind of pushed this idea forward, right? In Canada, at the Canadian Securities Exchange, we've got over 24 American companies that are in the cannabis sector that have gone public in Canada and listed on our exchange, right?
They can't do it in the USA.
Right.
They come to
They came to Canada.
to do this.
And some of them raised $1 billion. Yes. Yeah. So they're happy. We're
Billion
happy.
Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Real dollars.
Yeah. Yes.
One other thing, Chairman, is the access to this market. Hitherto that we're seeing it's growing in Jamaica.
Sure.
We hear of, and I put this to your managing director, of Trans Jamaica coming on board. And where do you see us going in Jamaica? Because I would imagine the issue of investment, it's an easier sell in Canada than in Jamaica, where we think of the stock market. I'm talking about the middle class, man in the street type of thing, and his access to. How do you see that growing exponentially, or
Sure.
where do you see that going?
Yeah, I see growing exponentially. I think we've had different cycles of performance in the local stock exchange, and we've gone through periods of extended lack of activity over the exchange. But we've come out of those now, and we're in a different paradigm with regard to the fiscal sustainability of the economic the confidence in the economy overall. On the back of that, we have listings that are broad, they are interesting to the average man, and he can touch it and feel it, and he understands what it means. So back in the day, when you say, okay, well, we have a listed a mega conglomerate, let's say a cable and wireless or something like that. People owning a share in that wasn't quite as tangible for many of the investors as some of the other listings that they would have seen. As I spoke yesterday to some individuals about Honey Bun, and the fact that I went into a gas station, and this guy was in the gas station, certainly not one of Honey Bun, right? Was in there, and he was remarking on the quality of his product because they had just changed the packaging. So there was a sense of ownership, and this is very much a man in the streets who now recognizes that his ownership of shares represents an ownership in his company, and he's seeing the transformation in front of his eyes. He's touching and feeling it and understanding that he is a part of this company that's growing. His own ambitions have therefore shifted. The ambitions of the company have shifted, and I think we're building on that. So Honeybun was done a few years ago, but last year we had Wigton. And with Wigton and the bottom-up approach of its, the smallest man was the most likely to get an allocation, drove the new investors through the door, and you heard the numbers yesterday, like 12,000 new investors, new meaning they have never owned stock before, came into the system. That's massive. Yes. That's not a little thing. And as this continues, and as their own discussions with their peers, based on the fact that they've now seen close to 100% return on that investment.
Good pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. It feeds itself, and I don't think we ever lose that, right?
No.
So what we're seeing now is we're seeing more and more quality companies coming to market, and the discussion about Trans Jamaica Highway, I think, is even a little bit more of something people can feel than even Wigton, right? So Wigton, that power coming through the lights right now, the electricity we use on any given day, is not necessarily different power than what we'd receive from JPS before as a result of burning, exactly, HFO. But Trans Jamaica is different because these are roads that you drive. you know that you're choosing to drive these roads and you're paying a toll because of the efficiency that these roads provide you. And therefore, you have a sense that this is going to become more and more the way that you choose to travel when you're trying to traverse any great distance across the country. It is a nice feeling to know that when you pay the toll that you would prefer not to have paid, that a little bit of it is yours. Right? So I think the value proposition for the average investor is going to be strong, and I'd say, you know, we know NCB has been mandated to be lead arranger on the deal. JMB has of course come along as a co-broker and co-underwriter on the transaction, and we expect that transaction will be launched anywhere within the next few weeks, of course, to be closed sometime in February, and would expect that, you know, it would get broad-based support from the Jamaican people, and therefore further expand this base of investors. You know, when we've had 12,000 a week ton, I can't tell you that this will add more, but it will add a few.
Yes. But
And
repeat
anything on top of
visitors.
this base is just an ever-expanding base of investors now who look to the stock
Will
market.
the approach be
and understand
similar,
it.
or a bottoms up?
Yeah, there will be a
approach?
bottom-up approach with the allocation. Not necessarily 100% because this raises more money. It's more money and it's important. And this
How much money
investment
there?
is slightly different, right?
How much money there?
Maximum size will be just north of 100 million US equivalent.
Okay.
But this is a slightly different project, right? So this is infrastructure, yes, but it's longer term. You know, it's a concession agreement going out to 2036 to be extended beyond that, and I'd have to expect that some of the investors who would have jumped into various other stocks, including a Wigton, for the pop, may view this one differently, because this one is really a steady stream of flows over time. So this is, it will probably appreciate in value. But I wouldn't want to be the one to go and predict that.
Yes.
What I can say is that we would expect it to be providing them very attractive returns in real dollars, and therefore we'd expect to have a lot of support, not only from the small, but also from the medium and the corporate and the institutional investors, to ensure that it's a success as well.
This is very intriguing because it's such a rare opportunity for the average investor to be able to buy into it.
Well, you know, Canada is one of the countries, I think, that has done these type of projects more so than anyone else, but hasn't necessarily done what we're doing now. But a lot of the toll roads have been built in Canada on the same sort of agreements which would have driven our Trans-Jamaica Highway infrastructure project.
That's exactly what I was going to ask him about, because we know Canada was building roads in our time before the Chinese moved in and others, so some French. But, you know, you say it's intriguing.
Yeah.
Is it that, and I get the sense here that Jamaica is going a little further than
I think they
perhaps
are.
Canada.
Well, by opening this up to the average retail investor, definitely. That hasn't happened in Canada yet. There's private and public partnerships that have been involved in infrastructure projects like major highways, but it hasn't extended to, yes, and you, average investor, you can buy a piece of that too.
But that leads me to ask the question, where have we ever seen this before?
I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that we've seen where one of these private-public partnerships has found itself desirous of exit through a public listing.
Yes.
Because typically how they work is that the partnership results in, yes, the providing of the resource that the country desires, and at the end of a period of time, it passes over to the government, and therefore, you know, the exit comes as a natural result of the end of a concession period. In this case, the exit is coming prior to the end of the concession period. The concession is in 2036, that's when it ends.
Yes.
But changing business needs and, of course, of the owners of Trans-Jamaica would have led them to say they want to pursue some additional other things, and provided the government to capture this underneath its overall divestment strategy to say, let us actually facilitate the movement of capital out for these investors, which we're grateful for, and bringing in new investors, because the government doesn't need to be in the business of running roads.
Yes.
And I think this overall trend of divestment, not talking about it, actually doing it, I think this trend is an important one for us as a nation to recognize the fact that we've gotten over the inertia of talking about divestment, talking about the benefit of having these things in private hands, and we're actually doing it. And that changes things.
Do you see any other place that government should divest? If you're the chairman, would you call them out and say?
Well, I mean, I think the government has a whole universe of places in which they are involved, from schools, hospitals, water systems, is right across the board. And there are models, there are precedents for these things being privatized that can be explored. I don't believe that the government has said they only want to pick specific winners. I think that there's a general, and they've stated as much. So it's not even my thoughts. I've heard their statements and I'm taking them at their word.
Okay.
That there's a general interest themselves of running these things that maybe better will be run in the hands of a private investor.
Your final thoughts, sir. Give me a sense of what this conference means and the future of your own competitively placed Canadian Securities Exchange.
Okay.
So we can learn from you, because we're going to expect to have competition from the Jamaica Stock Exchange one day.
Oh, well, the conference itself is really an excellent forum for an exchange of ideas. So it's a great learning experience for anyone who comes here, no matter which sector that they're in. For the Canadian Securities Exchange, we've been growing quite rapidly within Canada. We started as a very junior market. We're going to add a senior board to our market as well, so that we can compete better with the big board in Canada. We compete very well with the other junior markets because we are the growing market. But we also are increasingly looking internationally. Yes, our CEO, I'm not the CEO, I'm the Senior Vice President, but our CEO is in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum today.
Okay.
Right? And I'm here. Yes.
You got shunted to Jamaica. Wow,
Yeah.
what a choice.
And I'm happy I did. Yes.
Well, all right. I mean, my time has come, and I really want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I've certainly learned a lot, and so I have to go get some money now to go buy some Trans Jamaica shares.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and that's from the chairman. Again, want to wish you all a pleasant viewing as you continue to watch GNN, and Michael Sharp saying bye-bye from Insight.